National Nutrition Natural Health Reviews. 3 minutes of the latest naturopathic info with Canada's leading nutrition experts. Watch, learn, and get healthy naturally.
Hi there, I'm Naturopathic Doctor Jonathan Beatty, a health expert here at Nationalnutrition.ca. One of the things I want to talk about is ADD and ADHD. Now, being what they call a DAN doctor, or a doctor who's associated with a movement called Defeat Autism Now, we're looking at the biomedical interventions for autism and related disorders. ADD and ADHD is something I encounter in my office on a regular basis. What that stands for is attention deficit disorder or attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder. Oftentimes, these are very subjective diagnoses. Basically, you're just looking at measuring the symptoms of the child. Do they have trouble paying attention? Can they not follow conversations? Do they tend to fidget excessively? Do they seem excessively restless? So that's usually how a diagnosis will come about. And actually, ADD and ADHD have now been moved within the context of what we call the autism spectrum of disorders. So it's basically the more mild versions of autism. And the reason they've done that is one of the things we've seen in children or even adults who suffer from ADD and ADHD is that there are specific brain changes or there's levels of brain inflammation that we see in the same places we see in all sort of variants of autism spectrum disorder. And so because of that, we've classed them all together as a spectrum of conditions that are again dictated by the specific behavioral changes and personality changes that those people experience. So my approach to how to treat ADD and ADHD is looking at the ways or the factors that are involved in creating that brain inflammation. And so in order to do that, what I often will do with patients is dietary changes, trying to reduce any type of food sensitivity, as food sensitivities can trigger the immune system to actually attack and create inflammation within the brain. And so because of that, I'll often look at least trying gluten-free and dairy-free to start with my patients. As I've seen in many of my patients, that's actually enough to cause the ADD and ADHD symptoms to resolve. As well, I'll also look at increasing certain nutrients. So things like fish oil, DHA and EPA are very important for managing inflammation within the brain. It's so important, in fact, DHA makes up 22% of the actual mass of the brain. That's how important that nutrient is. And so people who don't eat a lot of fish, they often don't have adequate levels of this specific fatty acid in their body. And so for that reason, it ends up dictating extra inflammation being produced in the brain, and this can lead to the ADD and ADHD symptoms. I also look at using the B vitamins. Specifically vitamins B12 and B6 and even folate can be deficient in the brain, and this can cause decreases in the body's ability to manage inflammation. And so over time, inflammation is produced, and again, that's going to create those ADD and ADHD symptoms. So if you do suffer from ADD or ADHD, or someone you know suffers, consider getting them to change their diet. Maybe try avoiding gluten and dairy for a period of about 3 months, just to see if that can provide them some benefit. As well, possibly look at supplementing with things like a B vitamin, specifically one that contains methylcobalamin or the methylated B12, the active form of B12. You also want to look at using methyl tetrahydrofolate or the active form of folic acid, and as well looking at using pyridoxal 5-phosphate or the active form of B6. Using this will just ensure that the B vitamin you're choosing is going to be effective, and that's going to help, again, manage that inflammation that leads to the symptom development. So if you like this video, check out our channel, subscribe, and if you have any questions or comments, post them below, and always remember, knowledge is health.